we're now just 2 weeks away from the federal government's first budget, and while we do not know what will be in that document yet, we did hear from the Prime Minister this evening, Mark Carney, setting the stage by outlining the challenges he sees this country facing, some of the strategies he believes Canada needs to pursue, all to meet what he also believes is an extraordinary moment in this country's history.
We used to build things in this country. We can build again. We used to explore this country. We can chart new courses again. We used to take big, bold risks in this country. It is time to swing for the fences again. We learned a little lesson about swinging for the fences a couple nights ago, as I recall. And this is what the upcoming budget will be about: building, taking control, and winning. We will make generational investments with a plan to protect our communities, our borders, our way of life. We will build a stronger economy where everyone has a chance to get ahead. And we will empower Canadians with new opportunities, better careers, and a lower cost of living.
Again, the Prime Minister from earlier this evening speaking at the University of Ottawa. And joining us right now are Marci Surkes, former Liberal Executive Director of Policy and Cabinet Affairs in the PMO, current Chief Strategy Officer and Managing Director at Compass Rose, and with her, Stephanie Taylor, parliamentary reporter for the National Post. Hello to both of you.
Hey, Michael.
So listen, I'm going to begin just the significance of this moment in that it is very rare for a Prime Minister to deliver a primetime speech. You know, Jean Chrétien did it after 9/11, for example. So here we have this Prime Minister speaking at the University of Ottawa tonight. Talk to us about the significance of that, Marci.
You're right, Michael. I mean, this is much more of an American-style address to the nation, even complete at the end with almost a John F. Kennedy-like call to action for younger people. Ask not what you can do for your country. I mean, he really took a playbook out of the Oval Office, which is, you know, a fascinating image in and of itself, given the negotiations with the United States, the fixation of this country right now with what is happening with the Trump administration. So, strategically speaking, an interesting opportunity to table set. Mr. Carney clearly wanted to get the attention on himself for a moment. A lot of what we heard tonight was almost like a Netflix, episode recap. It was a lot of the greatest hits from the last number of weeks, re-emphasizing, underscoring, valuing what the government has been doing to date, but setting the stage for the budget in very clear-eyed terms. He was not sugarcoating what is confronting us as a nation. And I think the decision to go tonight is also an attempt to put him in the window. As we all know, he's traveling. He'll be leaving soon for 9 days, 9 long days in advance of a budget. He'll be missing in action. This ensures he's on everybody's mind tonight, tomorrow in the news cycles. So quite an interesting, smart, unique strategic play from the Prime Minister.
Okay, we'll dig into that. But Stephanie, you know, I'll pick up on something that Marci was saying that was almost his greatest hits of you know, in the last episode was, because we've been following the Prime Minister. We've traveled with the Prime Minister throughout the summer and the early part of this fall. And a lot of it seemed to be a repetition of what we have heard time and again. Perhaps not every Canadian, but certainly those in the press gallery who have followed the PMO have heard this before.
It's given me a lot of election feelings again, and I think this speaks to how the Prime Minister wants Canadians to see him. We saw during the election that in this time of economic and other anxiety, Canadians looked to him as someone that they could trust. And I think him appearing tonight, trying to set the stage and manage expectations about what might be in the budget, shows that he wants Canadians to still feel that trust towards him. We don't know what's going to be in this document. We've heard a little bit of tidbits tonight that it's going to be a significant document, and he's basically asking Canadians to continue to trust me, continue to put your trust in me, which I think is an interesting staging in terms of how he wants Canadians to continue to view him. And I think in terms of the managing expectations, he's having to manage expectations on some pretty big fronts, right? How much is he going to spend? How much is he going to cut? How is he going to continue to manage the relationship with the U.S.? We still don't have this long coveted trade deal. The opposition parties are continuing to kind of ask and intensify their questioning. But we think back to the election, there was this joke, these kind of big daddy vibes. I think that the Prime Minister is almost like leaning into that a little bit of essentially saying, trust me, we're in this together. I promise when things are going to be hard, I'm going to tell you they're going to be hard.
Yeah, and to that, I will say what's interesting is that what we heard here are the world and the challenges as Mark Carney sees it, and he sets up this hinge moment. That's not a word he used this evening, but he's used it in the past. That we're at this hinge moment as a country. He did not talk about dollar figures. He did not talk about a deficit, which we know is going to be into the tens of billions of dollars. And it's almost like and talk to us about the strategy of this Marci. Like, I mean, he is basically saying, this is how big the problem is. And down the road, not far down the road, you're going to hear how much it's going to cost to deal with this problem. But tonight was about setting the scene of how big the problem is.
Well, the rule number one of politics is managing expectations. So that is a lot of what we saw tonight. He is ensuring that everyone understands the diagnosis here and that the medicine is not going to taste great. So that is the point of setting the table tonight with this kind of address, and we'll see him likely continuing to use the similar kind of narrative leading into the budget. Fascinating paradigm that the government has set up, the Prime Minister in particular, talking about this government in two terms that almost seem like oxymoronic when you put them together, that it is both going to be a budget that demonstrates restraint and at the same time investment. Oftentimes we think of a budget as being either an investment document or an austerity document, but the two combined is quite unique, and I think it actually speaks to this moment. So he is trying to frame things in that way with a very clear emphasis on the exciting, ambitious nature of the budget, the exciting moment we have, opportunity to build, but also not mincing words about the fact that it is going to cost a lot, and Canadians need to be ready for this pain pill.
Yeah, and I'm quickly running out of time here, but I want to bring in the fact that he did say that we won't transform our economy easily or in a few months. It will take some sacrifices and some time, which says it's going to be a huge communications challenge for this government to sell Canadians on this budget stuff.
Sacrifices is a big word that stuck out to me, evoking the rethinking of Canada Post, the fact that they're kind of pulling the plug in terms of how that Crown Corporation is operating, him saying, there are things that we love to do that we're not going to be able to do as much of. I mean, what are those other things that Canadians love that they're not going to be able to do as much of in this budget? And I think one of the challenges the Prime Minister has found himself in is he's talking about these large, long-term, multi-generational investments. But Canadians, what they're telling him in the polls is that they're feeling the pinch of affordability today. That's like an immediate today concern. So how is he going to try and bridge that gap? And it's fine and dandy to put a speech like this and to put the expectations in the window. But once that budget document comes down and people start to actually see what the dollar figures and numbers are, and you get to see Canadians' reaction, I'll be very interested to see how the Prime Minister and his team continue to manage this.
Well, I will say that we're 2 weeks away from the federal budget, and the scuttlebutt already in Ottawa is that they needed to signal something in order to prepare the country. So this seems like a big first step in that preparation. We'll keep following it in the days to follow, but for this evening, Marci, Steph, thank you for that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.